No moving, please.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another YouTube video from me. As I'm recording this is the 1st of June and school has started up again for me. Um, I won't, however, go into detail about how school is. One of my friends did suggest I can maybe talk about school in an upcoming video, but I made a promise to myself and I told him that I will not be bitching about school in my videos. So yeah. What I did want to talk about, however, is well, the other day my other friend asked me about, he asked me about my thoughts on the book Lolita by Nabokov. Uh, I actually have it right next to me right now. Well, not next to me, but just on my bookshelf right now. And I want to share, what I said to him. I want to share my thoughts on the book because I personally think that Lolita is a very frightening novel in a sense. And the reason why I say that is because it is probably the most misinterpreted book of the Common Era. Um, you know, Lolita, for you guys who don't know, is about uh, a protagonist. The protagonist in the novel is a middle-aged man, and he basically uh, romanticizes his um, wrongdoings. Now, for the sake of censorship and YouTube community guidelines, I cannot specify what he does, but he does do some very horrible things to this one little girl. And the reason why I say this book is misinterpreted is because as our protagonist, his name is Humbert, does all these disgusting and grotesque things to the 12-year-old girl, Dolores. Throughout the book, he is our main narrator. He is our only narrator, and through his point of view, he justifies all his wrongdoings, uh, and describes his wrongdoings through very, very beautiful language. The narration is fantastical in a sort of way, and that has led to the misinterpretation of the book, where many, including even acclaimed critics, have labeled this book as a romance novel. Now, I do believe this book is the furthest thing possible away from a romance novel. Uh, there is absolutely no world where we can justify the things done to this little girl, this 12-year-old girl, as acts of love, of genuine romantic love. You know, uh, it is absolutely appalling the fact that how powerful language is on our perspective. And I think that is actually the true message of the book that Nabokov was trying to get across. Narratives are frighteningly powerful for us humans, along with language. It is to such a degree that through the proper use of modality and language, even very, very, very uh, fundamentally unjust and morally compromised acts can be sort of redeemed and disillusioned as something virtuous, something pure out of love. And I do think the irony of the book does the irony does write itself here. Uh, the absolute power of society, of narratives, whereby society has turned this book. First of all, it doesn't help that the first ever film of this book has completely altered the original storyline and the original intent of Nabokov, and it also doesn't help that later on the term Lolita, which by the way, Lolita is the name that our main character calls the little girl rather than calling her real name Dolores. Lolita became uh, a, a actual label for young girls in Japan. You guys might have heard of the term lolly, and it just goes to show how powerful narratives really are, and it really is just such a frightening book, both in the actual things that it talks about, and also the frightening influence the book has had on overall society. I won't get too much into it though. I hope what I've said so far has maybe interest some of you to give a shot, give a crack at this book. It's not a very hard book in terms of language, in my opinion. So please give it a try if you guys have the time. Moving on though, I think we can, go back to our usual schedule. I know this is probably a very, very unusual start to my video. I'm pretty sure no one would have expected me to start off with such a topic. But as we move on here, I do have some things I want to mention in my full body session. First of all, if we saw at the beginning, I know a lot of the exercises have already been played by. I was doing a shoulder press in the top half of the range of motion with a dead stop, and I switched out the behind the neck press for that simply because the Smith machine is always taken. B, even when I get the Smith machine, I'm not really the type of person to be bothered to set up the bench for the Smith machine every single time. And C, by doing this shoulder press instead, since it is solely restricted to the top half above your torso range of motion of shoulder adduction here, we do see a very heavy bias on the front delt and less of the side delt that you would get in a behind the neck press, and that has just allowed me to add an extra set of a lateral raise variation into my program, although I did forget to record it. Sorry guys, I will make sure to show it in the next video. As well as that, I have also included external rotation training into my programming, as you can see on the screen now. I have assessed myself a little bit, and I noticed that I'm not the greatest at external rotation. I have very stiff shoulders, very poor shoulder mobility, and since last time I was already on a tangent about mobility in general, I thought, why not take my own advice for once and include some shoulder external rotation training into my own program. So yeah, this one felt phenomenal. I think this session overall just felt extremely nice. A lot of the sets were a bit past the 1 IR range that I like to preach. A lot of them were taken to 0 IRR, reps in reserve, or just complete failure, which was but I was feeling fine. I always again recommend leaving one in the tank, especially if you were to commit to a full body program like this, where I'm doing around 20 sets per workout, and the intra workout fatigue, really starts to build up across all these different sets. So I really like to keep my training smart and keep my stuff consistent as well, because you can't really track you can't really say you've progressed on an exercise if one of the sets on one of the days were taken to uh, 1 rep in the keg, whereas on the other day you got like maybe 1 more rep or 2 more reps, but it was complete failure. That's just not a signal of progressive overload. That is not a proper signal of your progressive overload. What I also wanted to go over was how to structure a effective leg day, because I am starting to see a lot more people get into training legs, which is always a proud moment. And so I think this is the time now to go over what exactly you need on a given leg day. And in no particular order, you guys can order your exercises however way you want. However, I will make some minor suggestions. I will make some minor suggestions that I personally find useful. Obviously, for legs, we have our quads first. We can talk about our quads first. All we need for quad is a seated leg extension, just like a normal, your regular leg extension, single leg or bilateral, doesn't really matter, as well as a squat pattern. The squat pattern can be in the form of, I recommend like a Smith machine squat, a hack squat is great if you have that, a leg press is great, and a pendulum squat is also great, although pendulum squats are pretty hard to find in most gyms, unfortunately. On top of that, so that's all you need for quads, basically, just those 2 exercises, uh, two sets, 1 to 2 sets of each exercise, and you're good. Follow that up with your hamstrings. You just need some sort of a curl, some sort of a knee flexion, basically. That can be in the form of a seated or lying hamstring curl. Does not really matter. And in addition to that, for your hamstrings as well, you also need a movement at the hip, because the hamstrings are responsible for both knee flexion as well as hip extension. So I recommend for your hip extension some form of a SLDL, or just like some sort of hip hinge, maybe like a 45-degree barbell is also alright. Just make sure you have a stiff leg while you're doing the exercise, obviously, hence the name of a stiff leg deadlift. Aside from that, obviously those are your main 2 parts. The rest is just do 2 to 3 sets each and you'll be good. The rest include your adductors, which a lot of people neglect their adductors, but in my opinion, they are a very important muscle. They help you with your hip stabilization in your squat patterns, and they're also a larger muscle than you might expect. I think just talking about, if we just purely talk about the cross-sectional area of the muscle, the adductors have actually larger cross-sectional areas than your hamstrings, which is pretty cool. And yeah, just train them on the adductor machine. Nothing else is gonna be as effective as that. Following that, I know everybody neglects glutes as well, including myself. I'm also guilty of neglecting my glutes. Just do some form of, again, a hip extension movement, but instead of with my training my hamstrings, I do it with a stiff knee, and preferably in the bottom half range of the hardest in the bottom half range of motion. Here I want a shortened, position biased hip hinge movement, something like your hip thrust. Following that, what do we have left? Calves, of course. Never neglect calves as well. Any form of calf raise with a straight leg is fine. Do not do seated calf raises. Those do not grow calves, unfortunately. Right, those will not grow your calves. And I do recommend doing especially your calf raises, your leg extensions, and your hamstring curls, all 3 before your squat pattern. And the reason why, there's 2 reasons why. Number one is because by doing those three exercises first, you'll be warming up your ankle as well as your knee joint just through the isotonic movements themselves, which it's always good to go into a squat with warm joints. In addition, what's also beneficial about it is that a squat is a very cardiovascularly demanding exercise, so you would put that last in your session ideally. But yeah, that concludes today's video. I hope everybody's had a nice week, and I'll see you guys in the next one.